Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! Bit of backstory. I work with my mother in her wedding shop. I mainly wash up, clean, and make the teas and coffees. On rare occasions, I'm allowed into the fitting room when we have a client, as I'm a guy. So, obvious reasons. The meeting and teas room is downstairs while all the dresses and fitting room is upstairs. And you can't bring your coffee or tea upstairs due to there being extremely expensive, pristine white dresses. Some more obvious reasons. One day we had a client coming in for their schedule. I have never met this client before as she made the appointment online, but looking at the messages I could tell the mother of the bride in particular wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. When they arrived, the bride and her bridesmaid seemed like the typical happy yet clueless duo. Very excited yet flustered, so me and my mother greet them with smiles and jokes to relax them a little bit. The entitled mother, on the other hand, looks like she just walked into a big stay. Inspecting everything with disgust written across her mid-40s face. Her "I demand to see your supervisor" haircut barely scraping through the doorframe. I offer drinks and food, to which the bride and her bridesmaid happily agree to both. The entitled mother demands a black coffee, no sugar, and doesn't even look at me or say thank you like the other two. Immediately, I had a bad feeling. They all go into the tea room, the bride and her friend both happy to look through possible options online. Quick side note to anyone who hasn't gotten married or been in the wedding business, most shops work by trying example dresses, ordering one the bride likes to her exact measurements, and then making necessary adjustments or accessories, making each dress bespoke and perfect. The bride is having a thrill looking at all the options. The entitled mother, on the other hand, repeats, "I'm sure the price is negotiable," whenever a dress was found the bride liked while looking online. After a quick discussion on what she wanted, the bride was eager to go try dresses on to find her perfect dress. Not skipping a beat, my mother is up and ready to go. And so they all begin to make their ways upstairs. "Excuse me, ladies," I say. "Would you please leave your drinks on the table? There are no drinks upstairs." Both bride and her friend were very understanding and left their drinks on the table. The entitled mother, however, was not so understanding. "Who do you think you are? You're just a staff. I'll finish my drink where I damn well please." I know what you're thinking, that's a very extreme response. And it really was. I was stunned but managed to find my composure. At this point, my mother and the bride and the bridesmaids had already made their way upstairs. I tell her, "Ma'am, I'm not saying this out of spite. You're not allowed drinks upstairs due to possible damages to the dresses in case you spill any." "Shut up and show some respect to your elders, huh?" Before marching past me to the stairs, where I'm not allowed to follow, I stood in shock. A 6'4" rather broad and muscular guy being talked down to by a woman who resembled a boulder from Indiana Jones. I stay in my station and my mother tells me after that, although she was confused as to why the entitled mother brought the drink upstairs, she let it slide but kept an eye on her. The entitled mother apparently the entire time had been criticizing the price of every dress the bride tried on, not commenting once about how it looked, saying things like, "That price is outrageous, it can't be worth so much, the fabric is so bad," and so on. The bride then tried on a long silky dress, lace and silk draping off, making it seem like it was moving like a liquid. One of my favorites. The entitled mother, however, wasn't so pleased. "Take that thing off, sugar. It looks ridiculous." "Actually, Mom, I really like this one." "Well, how much is it?" she says to my mother. £2,200. My mom answers her, "What? You're trying to rob us. This is nonsense." The entitled mother then stands up to touch the fabric to prove her point but trips on the tail of the dress, pretty much dumping still hot coffee all on the dress. The crash and screams alert me and I bound up the stairs and race into the room to see the entitled mother on the floor, so red looking like she's going to have a stroke, and the bride and bridesmaids with their hands on their mouths in terror, with a pristine white dress now with a black patch all down the side. My mother looks like she's ready to gut the entitled mother right then and there.
You jerks made me trip and spill my drink. I've just had knee surgery. You'll be expecting to hear from my lawyer.
No one says a word as we just watch her awkwardly get back up.
We're leaving, sweetie, and we're keeping the dress now it's ruined.
My mother was too shocked to respond to that. I'm trying to keep my cool, and it's the bride who speaks up. Mom, we can just keep it.
Of course we can. They have no use for it, so we might as well keep it now.
Her red exterior was now replaced with a sense of accomplishment almost. They were about to leave the fitting room to finally notice me standing in a door frame.
Move aside, you jerk. You made the coffee in the first place. You made this whole mess.
Now, I will remind you, I'm 6'4" and have very broad shoulders, and she's about 5'6" in comparison. She tries to push past me, grabbing my arm and trying to jerk me to get past, but after a minute of me trying to keep my cool and her forehead veins popping in front, she realizes she physically can't get past me. Knowing this, I have the biggest grin on my face. I say, you're going to sit back down and pay for the washing bill for the dress, or we will call the police.
Like hell you will. Who do you think you are, you jerk? Get out of my way, or I will.
And I'm not making this up. Screw you up. I just stare at her bright red face, with the bride being held tightly by the hand, still in a dress and in tears. Ma'am, let go of your daughter and sit back down, please. At this point, the entitled mother slaps me across the face. It wasn't a pain, but it was a shock that stunned me.
Now you listen here, boy. My baby is going to have the wedding of my dreams, and I won't let a little jerk like you get in the way of that.
She moves to smack me again, and this is where I will probably get some flack, but before she could get the swing in, I slap her in self-defense. I didn't punch her. I used only the necessary force to defend myself. At the first slap, my mom immediately called the police, and being that station is just down the street, it didn't take long for them to arrive. In the meantime, the entitled mother simply stared in astonishment, and what I must assume is fear at the realization that she just picked a fight, she knows she can't win, and she freezes. The police arrive. As soon as they come, the entitled mother is back at it with the threats and insults before being taken in. The cops asked if I wanted to press charges after we explained what had happened and showed them the footage, to which we all said yes. The entitled mother had to pay the cost of the dresses cleaning, got 3 months jail time for assault, property damage, child abuse, and apparently 5 other charges with her trying similar things at other wedding venues. We gave the bride a significant discount as we knew it wasn't her fault for what happened. She was extremely grateful, and we were even invited to her wedding. I'm in a car on the way to that very wedding 9 months later, which reminded me of this story. The epilogue. Firstly, the child abuse charge was meant for the bride's younger sister. I apologize for not specifying, but my mother followed the case more closely than I did and corrected me. Thank you for pointing it out. Secondly, the wedding was beautiful. It was in a spa on the seafront, and the ceremony happened on a sunbathing platform, and there was a big glass dome separating the platform from the roaring sea outside. This moment right now is a victory in something I'm still not sure if intention was present. Regardless whether I give my subconscious more credit than is actually due or not, I shall leave it to you, the reader. A year and a half ago, I was in a support group. Through this group, I obtained gainful employment in a place that was very enjoyable and had a great support structure. You will never be punished for overcompensation. This attitude bred strong bonds between the characters of this tale. One character we will call Sally. She is my current partner. We have been together through this last year, and despite her starting as a rebound and having what would normally be a deal-breaking age gap, I have found that she's in fact like me in the sense of being a benign psycho. We both started the job on the same day and were hired on by her best friend, I will call Rachel. The last character I will address as Red. He's crucial as he's the object of this pro-revenge. When Sally and I started dating, Red and Rachel also entered the relationship. Sally, Rachel, and I were all a part of this support group and had very insane yet like-minded and optimistic worldviews. Red would have fit well in the group as well, as he was exactly what we all used to be. I exited the relationship at this exact time last year, and it was a painful one. I spent a lot of my free time with Sally and Rachel at the residence, and I didn't enjoy the drunken stupors that were regularly had, but it was better than being alone. I spent so much time, in fact, that I was asked to take up a share of the bills. I was happy to contribute, taking up my share, and I moved in. Over the course of the year, I felt stranger as time progressed. Something was deeply off, and as an intuitive person, I was determined to find its source. It must be the rebound. I would think to myself, I'm not being true to myself. This support group has taught me better than to blame others for my unhappiness. So I decided to wait it out as the truth tends to burn through. I had openly blamed one simple factor. I had been taking a painkiller mood stabilizer called Kratom. I was very open about it. I felt losing my clout and my network was likely the issue. The feelings were malingered and they manifested into brief breakdowns, seemingly unprovoked. I've only had feelings for the last 2 years. Yes, that must be it. The air around us stiffened as time drew on. Feeling further and further away, Rachel and Red would fight regularly, often interrupting our lives without any sort of consideration. As stated, I know better than to blame them for my state, and I addressed it to Sally like this. We have been in plenty of living conditions that were much harsher than this, and the place and people sucked. But my ship remained airtight. Something else is at play. I was fired from the company when I gave in to the depression and factual basis that my girlfriend and I were the top 2 performers at work and were going to have to compete for advancement. I gained and lost several jobs. My mental state was unable to rebound. 3 months ago, our dog was mysteriously injured. We have loved and trained him, so the moment something was different in his behavior, we took notice. The way Red was addressing the issue caused me great suspicion, and the poor dog remained injured for about 2 weeks. I told Rachel that I believe Red is abusing him out of jealousy for affection. Honestly, all the evidence I had gathered was circumstantial, and I let her know that these were only my opinions. The fighting finally stopped between Red and Rachel for the most part, but they were both very verbally abusive, and this was the norm now. I had my 11-year-old child sleeping in the living room 2 months ago, and she asked who was in Rachel's room. I said that's Red. My daughter observed Red as being borderline verbally abusive. I laughed and explained that's just their dynamic. I had noticed that at the end of the month for the last 3, I would talk to Sally and tell her I was unhappy here. I didn't blame her and tapered down the kratom. She told me she has no right to keep me here if it's really causing this disturbance in my livelihood. She has never been anything less than supportive. She has been urging Rachel over the last year. You shouldn't let Red cheat on you. Partners shouldn't fight with a dog for status in the household. I stayed out. Rachel would briefly entertain these ideas but slowly pushed out everyone. All her friends and family, anyone who felt the need to offer opinions on her relationship. 3 days ago, Sally and I had a plan. Red showed up unannounced to wait around our house all day for Rachel to get off work and was being a typical obnoxious lump. I propositioned Sally. I said if Red wants to be here 5 days a week, it's time he pays some bills. I have Sally text Rachel the next rental agreement. The actual plan was to have Rachel pay 50% and Sally pay 50%, and I would just pay half for Sally respectfully. It worked just as I thought. Rachel texted Red that we were wanting him to start pulling weight, and he was furious. He's a bully. He was just always smarter than pulling that nonsense on me. He began to scream his insecurities and other things, attempting to get a rise. I saw my opportunity. When Rachel and Red would fight, if things got bad, she would ask him to leave, and he would refuse and attack her. Eventually, she adapted to submission, but in the process gave me his weakness: "Get out of my house." Now Red went from fury to combatant. The screams lost any semblance of sanity as he tried to be as scary as possible. I retained complete control. "Get the heck out. You're no longer welcome here." He threw a punch that I was anticipating, and I hammered his fist with my elbow. Each time I would block, step back, and reassert myself. I packed up until we were outside. Sally had called the police as soon as Red started throwing punches. After a third unsuccessful attempt at injuring me, and also 3 counts of assault, he gave up and shoved Sally. I reminded him of his warrants and let him know he's about 30 seconds away from facing the fire. He finally started walking away while I followed, berating his miserable existence. I followed him to the edge of the property as he fled for his freedom. The police arrived and took our statements. I decided not to press charges, just explaining that him being gone is the most important part. "This is where the revenge goes, bro." The officer said no. Screw this freeloading scumbag. They searched his name and found 8 separate warrants for relative DV issues. They asked for a general location, which I happily provided. I spent Tuesday upset as I had to override a lot of primal stuff to not be the aggressor. Then we got a call. The officers went straight to his house and charged him with 3 counts of assault and took him in on warrants. It turns out that his baby mama filed for sole custody on Monday, so they also took his daughter into CPS. Apparently, the living situation was bad enough that Rachel brought Red's whole family over for a sleepover in our living room. Red interfering with a CPS investigation. We obtained a copy of the police report and brought it with us to pay rent. Our landlord shared the same sentiment almost word for word. "Screw that freeloading loser. He isn't allowed on any of my properties even if you don't get a restraining order." This still wasn't enough. When people are in abusive relationships, they defend their abuser. This is a danger of reconditioning. Now I finally understood the feeling. I was being treated like a stranger in my own home and being forced to feel unsafe. So my response was to unconsciously respond, treating Rachel like a stranger too. I hadn't even noticed until I looked at the mountain of "Screw you, Sally" and myself had compiled in preparation for this. Then reality hit. Red has been poisoning her mind toward anyone, and we all played right into it. What better backs up his slimy nonsense better than people actually treating others coldly? The facts were Rachel hadn't done a thing to me that would make me see her as an enemy, nor vice versa. Just like that, I saw through it all. Sally and I served him 2 individual restraining orders in a jail cell last night. We included the dog too, and also Rachel's place of work. She is probably lost now, and I doubt she will come around to reality, so I have already detached empathy. I did all I could for her, and she will likely never see it. We also made it impossible for him to be here, so if she wants to continue the abusive nonsense, it will have to be in Red's mother's living room. If Rachel makes me uncomfortable, the judge also informs me that anyone acting as an extension of Red will violate him as well. As for the family sleepover, we reminded his mother that she already spent 3 years in prison for interfering with a CPS investigation and asked her to kindly get lost. The feeling of needing to be elsewhere is gone. I can sleep again. I'm actually comfortable for the first time in months. Now we hold all the cards. We are currently unscrewable Wiz.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.